How are you, folks? Dave Brown here with the New Populist. Thank you again for joining me. I want to talk today about the chances of Trump getting elected in 2024 because there is this narrative from never Trumpers, from prominent Republicans, that support DeSantis because they believe DeSantis has the best chance at beating Joe Biden, and that if we nominate Donald Trump, we are essentially gifting Biden the election. Now, uh, DeSantis may be very well capable of beating Biden. I'm not saying that's not possible, but is Trump really the electoral poison that they claim him to be? And the fact that we have these four indictments, we have states that are actually looking for ways to take him off the ballot. That kind of goes against this idea that he is unelectable, because if people truly believed him to be unelectable, why not let him run, let him lose? Why take such drastic action, to go as far as trying to put him in jail? Why do that? And I think the reason is, and I'll prove it here, is that he actually has a very good chance of getting elected in 2024 if he were on the ballot. And in fact, he's actually doing much better right now in polling than he ever was back in 2019 and 2020. So that's actually why they're so, working so hard against him, because he has a very good shot of winning, and I'll prove it now. So let's go back to 2019, the polling, Real Clear Politics. And when you scroll through the year, 2019 into 2020, Biden has a huge lead in the polls. High single digits, double digits, the entire year, way ahead. Every single poll, even polls that are pro-Trump or lean conservative, Biden is way ahead all year long, all the way until the election. And Trump never came closer than, I guess, 5 points to Biden, and that just for a short time before widening again. So according to the polling, if we are to believe polls, Biden was going to win, and win very, very easily. And then factor in 2020 itself, how weird a year it was. We had the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, which just changed everything. We had George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter riots in June. And then we had the social media companies actively suppressing information, like lab leak theory. Trump pointing out that the virus potentially came from a lab in China, and he was called a racist for that. That was called disinformation. We have the Hunter Biden laptop, the story from the New York Post in October, and the media companies suppressed that. People were banned and prevented from posting about it. And then we had the former Intel officials, 50 of them, 5 of them being former heads, who signed that letter saying that the Hunter Biden laptop had all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. And during the debates, Biden said that. He goes, we have, all these Intel officials will say it was disinformation. All of that helped Biden out big time and hurt Trump. And then, of course, the biggest thing, the rule changes to voting, mail-in voting. That just, tens of millions of ballots being sent out in the mail, chain of custody issues. But let's not even go into that. Let's assume that all of that is kosher. Let's ignore all the shenanigans, voting night and counting, after election day through the week. Let's ignore all that. But just these things here really hurt Donald Trump. And again, the polls, Biden way ahead. So what actually happened at the end? Well, Biden underperformed in the polls by 2.7 points. Underperformed still, despite all the help he was getting from the media, and despite the circumstances of what happened in 2020. And in fact, Biden won by less than 45,000 votes over 3 states, in Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin. So his margin of victory was tiny. Everything they did for him, all the unusual circumstances of 2020, and they barely dragged his little carcass across the finish line. Now, let's look at polling in 2019 September and compare it to right now in 2023 in September, about 14 months before the election. In September 2019, before the pandemic, Biden was up 14 points, 8 points, 16 points. But these same polls right now, the same pollsters, look at it. In 2023, September, Trump up 2, Biden up 1, Biden up 3, and the average, according to Real Clear Politics, is Biden plus 7, or sorry, plus 0.7, which is almost 7 points lower than where he was back in 2020 at the end. 7 points lower. Does this sound like a guy who is just going to trample all over Donald Trump in 2024? I think it's quite the opposite. I think he has he's doing much, much worse, and that is why they are scared of Donald Trump. Now, in 2024, we have these other factors as well. The Ukraine war. What happens here? Big deal, right? Longer this war goes on, the more the U.S. public turns against it. And so that's a huge wild card, how this Ukraine war looks come election in 2024. Taiwan, the other potential proxy war, is that a problem? Or will the Taiwanese themselves sort of settle the issue because they have elections in 2024 where they may vote for the party that is pro Chinese unification? The economy. Will the economy crash? We have the inflation issues the last several years because of the pandemic. And despite the fact the stock market is doing okay, is all the chickens going to come home to roost and cause some sort of economic collapse? Immigration. That's still a massive issue. We actually have Democrat mayors and governors in blue states starting to really struggle with immigration. Mayor Adams in New York, and the governor, I think, was in New Hampshire or Connecticut, somewhere in the Northeast. She's trying to find places to put these immigrants. So that situation is not getting better. And then Biden himself, his cognitive function. There's days where he's just incoherent. And a year from now, he's not going to be better. And when you start losing your faculties, it can come very fast. So there's no guarantee that Biden is even coherent in a year. And if he's the nominee and he's just falling apart, that's a huge issue for Biden and Democrats. And then the other wild card here, obviously the indictments. Will they actually put Donald Trump in jail? Will this help or hurt Trump? Well, the indictments themselves have actually caused his poll numbers to go up. What if they actually put him in jail? Well, could that happen? And what might that, how might that impact his chances? And that's a massive wild card. And I think what they're going to do is next year, in I guess it's March or April, when you have this trial, depending on the polling, depending on all the factors I've talked about, that's I think we'll find out then whether they will go as far as to actually jail the guy. And that would be an extreme action, but as I've said for a very long time now, they've crossed the Rubicon. There's nothing they won't do, and I wouldn't put it past them to throw him in jail. And of course, you have other people like Tucker Carlson and saying that it's possible that they may even try to assassinate Donald Trump, and that his security is in doubt. And Dan Bongino, for example, former Secret Service agent, has mentioned that repeatedly, that he has heard from people that there are so many legitimate threats to his life. And the track record of the deep state would suggest that they're not above killing people. I don't think they want to do that. I think they would prefer to use lawfare and try to run him out the race using the legal system. But when it comes to foreign policy, and I think that's the big thing here, JFK, what got him? Vietnam, foreign policy, military industrial complex. What is the one issue that both parties are united on? Military industrial complex, foreign policy, Iraq war, Afghanistan war, Ukraine war. And that is the issue here with Trump. Trump is the one saying, I want to end the wars. He wants to talk to Xi in China. He was willing to talk to Kim Jong-il or Un in North Korea. He is an impediment for the geopolitical planners, because if he actually tries to have talks with people and peace, that ruins everything. And that is the one thing you cannot mess up, because that will put you, on the radar. Number one issue. You look at DeSantis, for example. When does he trip up? Not talking about domestic issues. The one place where he gets nervous and is very vague and just kind of runs in circles is the Ukraine war, because he knows the Republican base doesn't support it, but he's frightened of going too far and pissing off the military-industrial complex, which is why in the debate he's just going, straddling the fence, running in circles, and he doesn't want to be very, very clear on the matter, because he knows that is the one thing that could get his donors and his backers to back away from him if he were to come out against funding this proxy war in the way that Trump or Vivek have. So foreign policy, I really think that is the main thing that scares the establishment so much. Trump and his willingness to talk to people and trying to stop these wars. And to keep Trump out the White House, how far would they go? Pretty damn far from what we've seen so far. And I think he does truly have a chance to win if he were to be the nominee and if he were to stay out of jail. And that is what is scaring them so much. But we'll just have to wait and see. We have another 14 months and anything could happen. Well, that's it for now. If you are new to my channel, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.